Jake Morrison walked through the long silver halls of the Galactic Council building. His shoes made soft sounds on the smooth floor. The walls were covered with strange symbols from different alien worlds. Each step reminded him why he hated coming to this place. 3 years. 3 long years of meetings, arguments, and lies. Jake had come here as Earth's ambassador with hope in his heart. He wanted to make friends with the alien races. He wanted humans to be part of something bigger than just one planet. Now he knew better. The council chamber doors opened with a quiet hiss. Jake stepped inside and looked up at the huge room. Seats rose up in circles, like an old Roman arena. But instead of gladiators, alien creatures sat in those seats. They looked down at him like he was some kind of bug. High Counselor Vextal sat at the highest seat. The Xanthari looked like a giant snake with arms and glowing red eyes. His voice always sounded like he was talking to a child. Jake had learned to hate that voice over the years. Captain Lysa Barnes sat in the human section behind Jake. She wore her military uniform with pride. Lisa had been a soldier for 20 years. She knew danger when she saw it, and she saw it everywhere. In this room, Dr. Sam Carter sat next to Lisa. He was a quiet man who loved science more than politics. Sam had been studying the aliens for months. What he found scared him more than any weapon. Ambassador Morrison, Vextal said in his cold voice, please take your place. We have important matters to discuss today. Jake walked to the center of the room. A small platform waited for him there. He had stood on that platform many times before. Each time, he felt smaller and more alone. The council has made a decision about the human problem, Vextal announced. Other aliens nodded their heads or made strange clicking sounds. Problem. They called humans a problem. Jake's hands closed into fists, but he kept his face calm. We have been patient with your species, said Counselor Mortek from the Korthany Empire. The big creature looked like a bear made of rocks. But your people continue to build warships. You explore space without asking permission. You refuse to follow our rules. Jake wanted to laugh. Rules? The humans had followed every rule the council made. They paid taxes to species they had never met. They stopped exploring star systems because aliens claimed them first. They even stopped building defense ships when the council asked. And what did humans get for being good? Their colonies were attacked by pirates. Their trade ships disappeared. Their people were killed, and the council did nothing to help. We have tried to work with you, Jake said. His voice stayed steady, even though anger burned in his chest. Humans want peace. We want to be part of the galactic community. Peace? Vextal laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. Your species fights wars on your own planet. You build weapons that can destroy cities. You are violent by nature. Every species here fought wars, Jake replied. The Xanthari conquered 12 worlds before joining the council. The Korthany enslaved entire populations. The Veltar Collective destroyed 3 star systems in their civil war. But somehow humans are the violent ones. Silence filled the huge room. Jake had said what everyone knew, but nobody talked about. The council was full of killers and conquerors. They just hid it better now. That was long ago, said Counselor Yelandra, from the Veltar Collective. She looked like a tall blue woman with too many arms. We have learned from our mistakes. Humans are still young and dangerous. Dr. Carter stood up in the human section. May I present my research to the council? He asked. Sit down, human, Vextal ordered. Scientists do not speak in this chamber. But Sam did not sit down. My scans show that council species are much older than you claim. Some of you have been alive for thousands of years. I found records of 23 younger species that joined the council and then disappeared. What happened to them? Guards. moved toward Sam. They were big creatures covered in armor. Their hands rested on energy weapons. "Dr. Carter," Jake warned. "Please sit down." Sam looked at Jake with frightened eyes, but he had to speak. "They were destroyed," he whispered. "All of them. Every species that became too strong or too smart just vanished. The Council called it natural disasters or civil wars. But I found proof they were murdered." The guards reached Sam and grabbed his arms. They dragged him toward the door while he shouted, "Check the records. Look at the pattern. Humanity is next." The chamber doors closed behind Sam with a loud bang. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. "Your scientist is clearly unstable," Vextal said calmly. "This proves our point about human mental weakness." Jake felt something break inside his chest. It was not his heart. It was his faith in doing the right thing. For 3 years, he had believed that talking could solve problems. He had thought that being polite and following rules would make the aliens respect humans. He was wrong. "We have prepared a new agreement for humanity," Mortek announced. A small robot floated down and handed Jake a tablet. "Read it carefully." Jake looked at the screen. The words made him feel sick. Humans could not build any more ships. They had to give up their quantum drive technology. They could not explore new star systems. They could not even defend their own colonies without asking permission first. It was not an agreement. It was surrender, and if we refuse? Jake asked quietly. "Then humanity will be removed from the Council," Yolanda said. "Your species will be declared a threat to galactic peace. We will do what we must to protect innocent civilizations." The threat was clear. Accept slavery or face destruction. Jake looked around the huge chamber. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at him. Some looked hungry. Others looked bored. None looked friendly. He thought about Earth. About his wife and children waiting for him to come home. About the human colonies where families were trying to build new lives among the stars. About all the dreams humans had for the future. The Council wanted to crush those dreams. They wanted humanity to kneel and obey like scared children. Jake set the tablet on the floor, and he stepped on it. The screen cracked and went dark. "Ambassador Morrison," Vextal said in a warning voice. "What are you doing?" Jake looked up at the High Counselor. For the first time in 3 years, he smiled. "I am ending these talks," he said clearly. "Humanity came here seeking friendship. We offered our knowledge, our culture, our help. You answered with threats and demands. You want us to be your slaves." Jake's voice grew stronger. "We will not kneel. We will not surrender. We will not disappear quietly like the other species you destroyed." He turned to look at every section of the chamber. "You made a mistake. You showed us who you really are. Now we know the truth about the Great Galactic Council. You are not peacekeepers. You are predators." Jake walked toward the door. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. "Where are you going?" Vextal demanded. Jake stopped at the door and looked back one last time. "Home," he said. "To tell my people that we tried diplomacy. We tried peace. We tried to be good neighbors." The door opened with a quiet hiss. "Now we will try something else." Commander Nick Phillips sat in the dark bridge of the Earthship Defiance. Red lights blinked on his control panels. The ship floated in empty space between 2 star systems. They were far from any trade routes or colonies. This was the perfect place to hide. Nick had been a space captain for 15 years. He knew how to read the silence between stars. Tonight, that silence felt wrong. Something bad was coming. "Sir," called Lieutenant Carey Walsh from the communication station. "I am picking up a strange signal. It is very weak and coded." Nick walked over to Carey's station. The young woman had the best ears in the fleet. If she said something was strange, he listened. "Can you clean it up?" he asked. Carrie's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Static filled the bridge speakers. Then slowly, a voice came through. It was speaking in broken English with an alien accent. "Human ship ... If you hear this ... My name is Zefkor. I am Corthany scientist. I am dying. Must tell truth before they kill me." Nick felt cold fear in his stomach. He looked at his crew. Every face was tense. The alien voice continued. "Council lies. We not peacekeepers. We are murderers. For 50,000 years, we kill young species. Any who become strong, we destroy. Now they plan to kill humans too." The message cut to static. Then it came back. "I send you proof. Files hidden in old Corthany databanks. Use them. Save your people. Save Galaxy from us." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. "Download everything," Nick ordered. "Then we go home. Fast." 3 weeks later, General Amy Foster stood in a secure room deep under the surface of Mars. The Red Planet's military command center was the safest place in human space. But Amy did not feel safe. She looked at the data spread across dozens of screens. Each one showed proof of the Council's crimes. Ship logs, battle records, and death certificates. The evidence was clear, and terrible. Dr. Sam Carter sat at one of the computers. He had been freed from Council custody during the evacuation from their space. Now he was helping put together the puzzle of alien lies. "Look at this pattern," Sam said. He pointed to a timeline on his screen. Every 30 to 50 years, a young species joins the Council. They get maybe 10 years of membership. Then something happens. War, plague, or natural disaster. The species dies out completely. Amy studied the timeline. 23 species. Over the last 2,000 years. All gone. All forgotten, except in secret files. The Draxi were warriors, Sam continued. Their homeworld suffered a massive earthquake that killed everyone. But look at these readings. The quake was not natural. Someone used a planet-killer weapon. Amy's hands clenched into fists. What about the others? The Yilani were great builders. Their star went supernova. Again, not natural. Someone destabilized it with ancient technology. Sam switched to another file. The Kaleri were amazing traders. They discovered faster-than-light communication. 1 month later, a plague killed their entire species. The disease was engineered in a Veltar laboratory. Amy had seen many wars in her career. She had watched friends die and cities burn. But this was different. This was not war. This was extermination. "How long do we have?" she asked. Colonel Ryan Bell looked up from his own computer. He was studying recent attacks on human colonies. Based on the pattern, not long. The Council already started the process. Ryan put a star map on the main screen. Red dots marked human. Settlements that had been attacked in the last 6 months. "We thought these were random pirate raids," Ryan said. "But look at the targets. They hit our most advanced colonies first. The ones with the best technology or strongest defenses." Amy studied the map. The attacks made sense now. They were not trying to steal or conquer. They were testing human responses, learning human weaknesses. "They are preparing for the final strike," Ryan continued, "just like they did with the other species." Engineer Maya Roberts entered the room carrying a datapad. She was the head of human weapons development. Maya looked excited and scared at the same time. "I have good news and bad news," she said. "The good news is we finished reverse engineering the quantum drive technology we captured from that Zentari ship last year." Amy smiled. "The quantum drive was the most advanced space travel system in the galaxy. If humans could build their own, they would be much harder to catch. "What is the bad news?" Amy asked. "We did not just copy their technology," Maya said. "We improved it. Our drives are twice as fast as anything the Council has. We can travel further and use less power." Amy was confused. "That sounds like more good news." Maya shook her head. "Think about it. If we are already better than them with stolen technology, what happens when we start making our own discoveries? How long before we become stronger than the Council species?" Amy understood. The Council had good reason to fear humanity. Humans learned fast and improved everything they touched. Given enough time, humans would surpass their alien masters. The Council would never allow that to happen. "Lieutenant," Commander Brad Stone burst into the room. He had just returned from a secret scouting mission to the edge of human space. His face was pale with fear. "General, we have a big problem," he said. "I found a massive Council fleet gathering at the Proxima system. Ships from every major species. Hundreds of them." Amy felt her heart sink. "How long before they reach Earth?" 2 weeks, maybe less." "But General, that is not the worst part." Brad activated his datapad. Images of alien warships filled the screens around the room. "They have weapons we have never seen before. Old weapons. The kind that were supposed to be banned after the last Galactic War. I saw planet killers, starbreakers, and something called a life sterilizer." Dr. Carter looked up from his computer. "Those weapons were used to destroy the other species. If they bring them into human space, ... He did not need to finish. Everyone in the room understood. The Council was not planning to conquer humanity. They were planning to erase it completely. Amy looked around the room at her officers and scientists. These were some of the smartest and bravest humans alive. But they looked scared. She did not blame them. "We need to contact President Washington immediately," Amy said. "She needs to know what we are facing." 2 hours later, President Kate Washington sat in the Oval Office listening to Amy's report. The president was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But Kate had been a soldier before she became a politician. She knew when diplomacy had failed, so our choices are surrender or extinction. Kate asked. "Yes, Madam President," Amy replied through the secure video link. "The Council will not allow humanity to survive. We are too dangerous to their power." Kate was quiet for a long moment. She looked out the window at the peaceful Earth sky. Somewhere, up there, alien fleets were preparing to destroy everything humans had ever built. "General Foster," Kate said finally, "do we have any chance of winning a war against the Council?" Amy thought carefully before answering. "If we fight them the way they expect, no. They have more ships and older weapons. But humans have advantages they do not understand, such as we adapt faster than any species they have faced. We learn from our enemies and use their own tactics against them. Most importantly, we fight differently when our families are threatened." Kate nodded slowly. She had made many hard decisions as president, but none as important as this one. "The Council made one mistake," Kate said. "They showed us their true nature before they attacked. Now we know what kind of enemy we face." Kate stood up and walked to her desk. She pressed a button that connected her to the Military Command Center. "General Foster, prepare our fleets for immediate deployment. Contact our best allies and warn them what is coming." "And General?" "Yes, Madam President?" "The Council wants to eliminate humanity because they think we are too dangerous. Let us show them they were right." Admiral Tony Mitchell stood on the bridge of the human battleship Freedom. Through the wide windows, he could see the Zentari homeworld growing larger. The planet looked peaceful from space. Green continents and blue oceans. It reminded him of Earth, but Tony knew this world was not peaceful. This was where the Council planned humanity's destruction. Today, that planning would end. All ships, Prepare for first strike. Tony spoke into his communication device. Around him, 50 human warships moved into attack position. They had traveled, here using the new quantum drives. The Xanthari had no idea they were coming. Captain Beth Crawford commanded the assault ship Lightning. She watched her screens as targets appeared. But these were not military bases or weapon factories. They were communication towers. Target the propaganda stations first. Tony's voice came through the speakers. We want them to know we are here, but we want them to hear it from us. Beth smiled. The Council had been sending lies about humans across the galaxy for years. They called humans violent monsters who wanted to destroy everything. Today, humans would show the galaxy who the real monsters were. The human ships fired together. Bright, energy beams struck the huge towers that sent messages across space. The towers exploded in balls of fire. Within minutes, the Xanthari could no longer tell lies to other worlds. On the planet below, millions of Xanthari looked up at the sky in fear. They had never seen enemy ships above their homeworld. For 1,000 years, they had been the ones attacking other planets. This is Admiral Mitchell of the Human Defense Force. Tony's voice broadcast across all frequencies. People of Xanthar, your leaders have declared war on humanity. They plan to destroy our worlds and kill our children. We did not want this. Fight, but we will not run from it. The broadcast reached every radio and television on the planet. Xanthari civilians heard a human voice for the first time. It was not the voice of a monster. It was the voice of someone trying to protect his family. We are not here to hurt innocent people, Tony continued. But we will stop those who want to hurt us. Your government has 30 minutes to surrender. All Council war plans. If they refuse, we will take them by force. High Counselor Vextal watched the human ships from his palace window. His red eyes burned with anger. How dare these young creatures attack the mighty Xanthari? They would pay for their foolishness. But 30 minutes later, Vextal was running through the underground tunnels beneath his palace. Human soldiers had landed and were fighting their way through his guards. The Xanthari military, so confident in their power, was falling apart. Captain Beth Crawford led her Marines through the palace halls. They moved quickly and carefully. Beth had studied the building plans for weeks. She knew exactly where to find what they needed. Movement ahead, called Sergeant Paul Green. He was a big man who had fought in many battles. Paul pointed his weapon. Around a corner, but the figures coming toward them were not Xanthari soldiers. They were small creatures with gray skin and large eyes. They wore simple clothes and looked very scared. Please do not hurt us, one of them said in broken English. We are Draxi. We are slaves here. Beth lowered her weapon. The Draxi were supposed to be extinct. The council records said they had died in an earthquake 50 years ago. How many of you are here? Beth asked gently. Many, the Draxi replied. Hidden in work camps. Xanthari use us to build their ships and weapons. They told Galaxy we were dead, so no one would look for us. Beth felt sick. The council had not just destroyed species. They had enslaved the survivors and hidden them. How many other races were still alive, working as secret prisoners? Paul, get these people to the ships, Beth ordered. We are taking them home. Home is gone, the Draxi said sadly. Xanthari destroyed our world. Then we will help you find a new one, Beth promised. Free people, not slaves. Meanwhile, Major Chris Parker was leading his troops on the planet, Kepler 442b. This world was supposed to be uninhabited. The Council claimed it was too dangerous for any species to live there. They had lied again. Chris and his soldiers found huge buildings hidden in the jungle. Inside those buildings were laboratories filled with alien scientists, but these were not normal experiments. They were testing biological weapons on living creatures. "Sir, you need to see this," called Private Dana Lee. She was standing next to a cage filled with small, furry animals. They looked sick and weak. Dr. Martinez, the team's medical officer, ran tests on the creatures. His face went pale as he read the results. "These animals have been infected with a plague designed to kill mammals," he said. "This is the same disease that wiped out the Kalari species." Chris felt cold anger in his chest. They were testing it for use against humans. "Not just testing," Dr. Martinez replied. "Perfecting it. These new versions are much more deadly than what killed the Kalari." Chris looked around the laboratory. Hundreds of cages held different animals. Each one was being used to create weapons, meant to destroy human colonies. "Destroy everything," Chris ordered. "Every sample, every record, every piece of equipment. And rescue all the test subjects. We are shutting this place down forever." The alien scientists tried to stop them. They screamed about important research and galactic security. But Chris had seen enough. These creatures called themselves civilized. While they created tools of genocide. Commander Helen Torres was having her own discoveries in space. She had led a small team to capture the Council's main communication station. It was hidden in an asteroid field where no one would think to look. The station was bigger than most cities. It had been secretly controlling information across the galaxy for thousands of years. Helen and her team fought their way to the central computer room. What they found there changed everything. "These are not just communication records," said Lieutenant Alex Murphy as he downloaded files. "This is a complete database of every species in the galaxy, including ones that are supposed to be extinct." Helen looked at the data scrolling past on the screens. Species after species marked as destroyed, but with secret notes about survivors in hidden locations. "They have been lying about everything," she whispered. "Half the species they claim to have lost to disasters are still alive, working as slaves in secret bases." But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. Helen found records showing that the Council species were not the original rulers of the galaxy. They had been slaves themselves long ago. They had learned from their former masters and then destroyed them. The cycle of destruction had been going on for millions of years. Each group of species would grow strong, enslave the weak, and then be destroyed by the next generation. The current Council members were just the latest group to hold power. "We need to broadcast this to everyone," Helen said. "Every species in the galaxy needs to know the truth." Alex worked quickly to prepare the transmission. Within minutes, a hidden communication network came alive. For the first time in galactic history, all species could talk to each other without the Council controlling the messages. The response was immediate and explosive. On dozens of worlds, younger species rose up against their Council masters. They had always suspected they were being treated unfairly. Now they had proof of the lies and murder. The Yelani survivors, hidden on slave worlds for decades, began attacking their Veltar guards. The Draxi refugees rescued by human forces sent messages to their scattered people. The Kalari, thought dead for centuries, emerged from underground cities where they had been hiding. Dr. Rachel Kim, working from Earth's communication center, coordinated the broadcasts. She was a small woman with a big voice. Rachel had spent years learning alien languages. Now she used that knowledge to speak directly to oppressed peoples across the galaxy. "This is Dr. Kim of Earth," she broadcast, in 12 different languages. "Humanity calls on all free peoples to stand together. The Council's rule of fear is ending. Today we fight not just for human survival, but for the freedom of every species." The response was overwhelming. Planets that had been loyal to the Council for centuries declared their independence. Trade routes shut down as younger species refused to serve their masters. Military units mutinied when they learned the truth about Council crimes. Within days, the galactic government was falling apart. The Zenthari homeworld was cut off from its colonies. The Korthani Empire split as member worlds joined the rebellion. The Veltar Collective found its own people turning against their leaders, not High Counselor Vextal. Now hiding in a bunker deep underground, sent desperate messages to his fellow council leaders. But their responses were the same. Their own worlds were in rebellion. Their own people had turned against them. How did this happen? Vextal screamed at his advisors. We controlled everything. We had power. His chief advisor, an old Zenthari, named Morval, looked at him with tired eyes. We controlled lies, he said, but humans brought truth. And truth is always stronger than lies. Admiral Mitchell, watching the chaos spread across the galaxy from his command ship, felt no joy in the Council's collapse. Too many people had died. Too many species had suffered. The war was not over yet, but for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy's younger species had hope. They were no longer alone. They were no longer helpless. And they were no longer afraid. The age of the Council was ending. What came next would be up to all of them, working together. Admiral Tony Mitchell walked through the broken remains of the Galactic Council building. His boots crunched on pieces of crystal and metal. 6 months ago, this place had been the center of galactic power. Now it was just ruins on a dead world. Final battle had lasted 3 days. High Counselor Vextal and his remaining forces had made their last stand here. They fought with desperate fury, knowing they had nowhere left to run, but the galaxy had turned against them. Even their own people wanted them gone. Captain Beth Crawford stood next to a huge piece of fallen wall. The crystal surface still showed. Alien writing. It was a list of laws that had kept billions of beings under Council control for thousands of years. Hard to believe they ruled from here for so long, Beth said quietly. Tony nodded. Fear is a powerful weapon, but it only works until people stop being afraid. Lieutenant Commander Brad Stone jogged up to them. He carried a data pad filled with reports from across the galaxy. Brad looked tired but happy. Admiral, the last Council stronghold just surrendered, he reported. The Veltar fortress on Rigel Prime is ours. They are asking for mercy. Tony thought about all the species that had asked the Council for mercy over the years. None had received it. But humans were not the Council. They could choose to be better. Take them prisoner, Tony decided. No executions. They will face trial for their crimes, but they will get fair trials. Brad smiled. Yes, sir. The liberation forces are reporting from all sectors. Over 400 species have declared their freedom. The slave camps are all being shut down. Tony felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The war was finally over. But the real work was just beginning. On Earth, President Kate Washington sat in her office with representatives from dozens of alien worlds. The room was crowded with creatures of every shape and size. Some looked like humans. Others were completely strange. But all of them had one thing in common. They were free for the first time in their lives. We need to decide how to govern the galaxy, said Zektar, a tall Draxi leader. His people had been hidden slaves for 50 years. Now they were helping to build a new government. The old way failed, added Yelena from the Kalari survivors. We cannot let any one species control all the others. Kate listened to the discussion. These people had suffered under Council rule. They knew what did not work. But building something new was harder than destroying something old. What if no one species is in charge? Suggested Dr. Rachel Kim. She had been elected as Earth's representative to the new government. What if we make decisions together? How? Asked Mortek, a young Korthani who had fought against his own empire. There are hundreds of species now. We cannot all agree on everything. Kate stood up and walked to the center of the room. On Earth, we have something called democracy. People vote to choose their leaders. The leaders serve for a few years. Then new elections are held. But what if the majority votes to hurt the minority? Asked a small creature from the vegan system. Numbers alone do not make something right. Dr. Sam Carter, now serving as Earth's science advisor, had an idea. We could have two kinds of voting. Simple decisions get decided by majority vote. But important decisions need agreement from most species groups. And we could have a written constitution, added Rachel. Basic rights that cannot be taken away, no matter how people vote. The discussion went on for days. Every species wanted to make sure their people would be safe. They had all seen what happened when power was not controlled. Finally, they reached an agreement. The new Galactic Democratic Alliance would have elected representatives from every member species. Important decisions needed approval from at least 2/3 of the species groups. And there would be a Bill of Rights that protected everyone. Most. Importantly, no species could be forced to join. And any species could leave if they wanted to. Freedom meant having choices. The first challenge came sooner than expected. High Counselor Vextal and the other captured council leaders were brought to trial. Many people wanted them executed immediately. They had killed billions of beings over thousands of years. But Captain Crawford, now serving as head of Galactic Security, insisted on fair trials. If we kill them without justice, we become what they were, she argued. The trials lasted 6 months. Evidence was presented from hundreds of worlds. Survivors testified about the horrors they had endured. The proof of council crimes filled entire libraries. In the end, the council leaders were found guilty of genocide and crimes against all species. But instead of death, they were sentenced to life in prison. They would spend their remaining years helping to rebuild what they had destroyed. Some people were angry about the sentences. They wanted revenge. But most understood that the new galaxy had to be better than the old one. The real victory came when the galaxy started to heal. Commander Helen Torres led the effort to find and free the remaining slave populations. Her ships traveled to distant worlds where species had been hidden for centuries. Each rescue mission brought more people back to the light. The Yelani, master builders who were supposed to be extinct, began designing new cities for refugee species. The Draxi, who had been forced to make weapons, started building schools and hospitals instead. The Kalari used their trading skills to help different species work together. Major Chris Parker commanded the teams that cleaned up the biological weapons laboratories. Every sample of genocide plague was destroyed. The knowledge of how to make such weapons was erased forever. We are not just ending their crimes, Chris told his soldiers. We are making sure no one can repeat them. Engineer Maya Roberts found herself in charge of sharing technology across the galaxy. For thousands of years, the Council had hoarded the best discoveries. Now that knowledge belonged to everyone. Each species has something unique to offer, Maya explained to a gathering of alien scientists. When we share our knowledge, we all become stronger. The quantum drive technology that humans had improved was given freely to all Alliance members. Medical discoveries were shared between species. Agricultural techniques were taught to worlds where people were hungry. Dr. Martinez, the medic who had uncovered the biological weapons program, found himself treating patients from dozens of different species. Medicine is medicine, he said. Pain is the same in any language, and so is healing. 1 year after the Council's fall, President Washington addressed the galaxy from the new Alliance capital. The city was built on a neutral world where no single species had ever lived. It was designed by Yelani architects, constructed with Draxi engineering, and powered by human quantum technology. We have learned that diversity makes us stronger, Kate said to representatives from over 500 species. When we stand Together, no tyrant can defeat us. The speech was translated into thousands of languages and broadcast across the galaxy. On worlds that had been dark for centuries, people celebrated in the streets. But the greatest celebration was quiet and personal. In homes across the galaxy, children asked their parents about the old days. Parents could finally tell them the truth without fear. On Earth, Jake Morrison sat in his garden with his grandchildren. They asked him about his time as an ambassador to the council. "Were you scared, Grandpa?" asked little Emma, his youngest granddaughter. Jake thought about those dark days in the council chambers, about the threats and the fear, about the moment he decided to walk away from the negotiations. "Yes, I was scared," he admitted, "but sometimes being scared is not the most important thing. Sometimes you have to do what is right, even when you are afraid." "Did you know the war would happen?" asked his grandson Peter. "No," Jake said honestly. "We hoped for peace. We tried everything we could to avoid fighting. But sometimes peace requires you to stand up to bullies." "Are there still bad aliens out there?" Emma asked with wide eyes. Jake smiled and looked up at the stars. "There are good and bad people in every species, including humans. But now we have laws to stop the bad ones. And we have friends to help us." The old council worlds were slowly healing too. Most Zenthari, Horthony, and Veltar people had not known about their leaders' crimes. When they learned the truth, many were horrified. Young people from the former council species joined the alliance eagerly. They wanted to build a better future than their parents had created. Some of the older generation remained bitter. They missed the days when their species ruled others. But they were outnumbered by those who embraced change. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts between species. There were criminals and terrorists who wanted to return to the old ways. There were economic problems and political disagreements. But for the first time in 50,000 years, there was hope that children could dream of exploring the stars without fear. Scientists could share discoveries without hiding them. Artists could create beauty that celebrated all species together. And when problems arose, the species of the galaxy faced them together. Not as masters and slaves, but as equals working toward common goals. The humans who had started this revolution found themselves in an unexpected position. Many species wanted to make humans the new leaders of the galaxy. But humanity refused. "We did not fight to become your rulers, Admiral," Mitchell explained to the Alliance Assembly. "We fought so that no one would rule over anyone else."